Shalom TV, celebrating Jewish culture.
This week, Jews all over the world pause to hear the reading of the Megillah, the scroll of Esther, a story which recounts the essential Jewish battle for survival against enemies bent on destroying the Jewish people en masse, simply because the enemy does not like Jews. In the Megillat Esther, the prototypical anti-Semite Haman, said to be a descendant of evil King Amalek and the ancestor of every cruel oppressor who's ever sought to eradicate Jewish children, women, and men, Haman purchases the Jews of Persia from the apathetic king Ahasuerus so he can exterminate them all. And what is the crime for which the Jews must pay their collective lives? It's Mordecai's simple refusal to bow down before Haman. For Mordecai insists that Jews bow down only to God. In essence, it's an act of Jewish being, which is the Jew's crime, a theme central not only to the Megillah read on Purim, but a theme which echoes throughout the annals of the unspeakable persecutions and pogroms, massacres, which have characterized Jewish history. And so it is even today. In the sovereign state of Israel, enemies of the Jews rain down death and destruction in the form of Qassam and Katyusha rockets, terrorizing and traumatizing innocent civilians, children, women, and men, bringing death to Israeli families who have done nothing to harm any Palestinian or Arab child. And just as King Ahasuerus was content to sit by and watch Haman's attempt to murder the Jews, one has a sense today that much of even the Western world is prepared to stand by and do nothing, say nothing in defense of the state of Israel and the Israeli people, victimized by constant Hamas Palestinian attacks. Rather, the only time voices are raised in protest is when Israel answers back. Then there's a chorus of international condemnation, as if Israel has, without provocation or justification, taken action against Palestinian civilian populations. When Israel fired one rocket into Gaza, the outcry on American television was enormous. The test of anti-Semitism is whether the Jew or the state of Israel is being held to a different standard of conduct than one that is asked of every other civilized nation. By this standard, the criticism heaped on Israel for defending its civilian population from violent military attack is anti-Semitism worthy of Haman of the Purim story. I live in a lovely upscale community in Connecticut. If one lone rocket ever fell on this Connecticut town, or in Boston, or in Chicago, or Miami, or Detroit, or New York, or Pittsburgh, or Philadelphia, or Baltimore, or Washington, or Nashville, or Seattle, or Portland, or Houston, or Hartford, or Harrisburg, or Tucson, or Tallahassee, or Grand Rapids, or Boulder, or Charleston, or Tampa, or Denver, or Albuquerque, or Jacksonville, or any of the other cities and towns where Shalom TV is now seen, if but one lone rocket were ever to fall on a school, or a mall, or a church, the outcry would be heard throughout this land, an outcry demanding that our government take any and every step necessary to stop another rocket from falling, to keep our children and our parents safe. And if an enemy were to suffer casualties because their missile batteries were located in their schools and hospitals and civilian centers, then even if there would be American sympathy and empathy for those civilian casualties, the people of our American towns and cities, my town in Connecticut, would feel totally justified in doing what's necessary to protect American lives. The American people has a long and proud history of defending the innocent, of supporting the underdog. Somehow, the illusion has been created, the illusion that the Palestinian people are the underdog and that the state of Israel is the Goliath. The truth on this week of Purim is that no Haman is ever the underdog. And if the Palestinian people are oppressed, their principal oppressor is not the state of Israel, which would in a moment expend time and energy and resources to uplift the Palestinian people. The real Goliath are those ruling Hamas, terrorizing their own Palestinian people and using Palestinian pain as a pretext to the systematic attempt to destroy the state of Israel and the Jewish people. On Purim, we read the Megillah in which the Jewish people are victorious over the evil Haman and all those who would have followed him. Each year through the Purim story, the Jews celebrate survival. At this Purim season, it's time for every person of conscience, every American Jew, to stand against any anti-Semite, any person who would seek to destroy another people, the Jewish people. It's time now for every man and woman to speak out against Hamas terror and its reign of death, and to support Israel's right to defend its people and its absolute right to exist in peace. To do any less is to betray the universal message of Purim and the responsibility we have to our people and our fellow man. I'm Mark Golub. Have a wonderful Purim holiday.